Everything happens in a chilling attack that occurred at a school in the United States, in Columbine in 1999, where Rachel Scott was one of the 11 innocent victims. She never imagined what awaited her that fateful day, when she crossed paths with two of her classmates, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, who planned such a tragedy that will end Rachel's life in the most cruel way possible.
Too late.
Rachel was a very talented and charismatic girl who, from a very young age, had to go through her parents' divorce, which left her with a deep emotional scar that marked her life forever, and the countless couples her mother had made it even worse.
Are they getting a divorce?
Upon entering the university school, a tireless struggle began for her to be accepted by her peers for being something different from the rest, where she was constantly harassed by her peers.
As strong as you.
But she never lost hope that one day this will change. Although her life was not easy, she tried to give her unconditional love to others, building the pillars that give her strength when she needed it most. So very excited, one day she signed up to participate in one of the school plays, waiting to be chosen for the main role and thus be able to be next to Alex, the boy she liked so much, but unfortunately she was chosen for another role, although it is not yet final. Rachel, very disappointed, tells her friends that she wants to have a boyfriend, but it has been very difficult for her because the boys do not see her with eyes of love.
You guys will never think of me that way.
For this reason, one of them invites her to a meeting, so that she can interact with Alex and tell him what she feels.
See if I can arrange for something this weekend.
So that night, Rachel sneaks out of her house, and when she arrives she manages to meet Alex, with whom they have a pleasant conversation, and both agreed that life was like a play.
That's why all the world's a stage.
Everything seemed perfect for Rachel until she was discovered by her mother, who gets upset with her and they get into a heated argument.
This kind of behavior will not be tolerated under this roof.
Since that night, Rachel has closed in on herself, and in moments of weakness, she constantly struggles with depression and voices that torment her every day, making her doubt her own faith. However, she never faltered and maintained the certainty that God was there for her and that her love sustained
Listen to
her.
me. God does not waste anything.
Her life changed after her mother took over the household obligations and her income dropped in a very short time, for which her mother warned Rachel and her siblings that nothing would ever be like before. This causes Rachel to become more rebellious and disobedient, until one day, she discovers the strength of faith, and leaves behind all her worries to start writing her experiences in a journal that her aunt gave her.
Just write down your thoughts. Someone to give
She begins to write regretting having doubted God, and not having trusted Him. And from that moment, she promises to put all her trust and her faith in God, capturing in her diary her thoughts, struggles and dreams, which she lives day by day.
God, I'm sorry I ever doubted you.
And fortunately she goes to drama classes every morning, along with Alex. Their very beautiful but strange relationship grows, where he called it a heart relationship.
This is where it all begins.
They soon made the final choice for the first role in the play, where Rachel was happily selected to participate.
Gracias, Dios. Boom, boom.
At school it is not easy for her to maintain the Christian faith, since her classmates do not accept her or take her into account, and she becomes invisible by her classmates. Yet she maintains a vibrant and energetic personality that often masked her trauma and fear of bullying that she suffered on a daily basis.
Rachel's got a new boyfriend.
One day at the school theater, Rachel meets Eric and Dylan, unaware that they are planning a catastrophe, just as she was part of a production.
Natural selection should be actively.
Although at first they seemed like just two other kids at her school, Rachel began to notice something strange about them. An air of mystery enveloped them, and their behaviors began to seem more and more erratic and disturbing, but Rachel continued to feel a unique connection that she couldn't explain, and she became more and more dangerous as she did not stop interacting.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, April the 20th, 1999.
Very soon, the worst day for many arrives, April 20th, 1999, the same day that Adolf Hitler was born, where the dark and dangerous side of Eric and Dylan will be discovered. That day Rachel, from very early on, senses her tragic fate.
There's something in me that makes me want to cry, and I don't even know what it is.
But like any normal day she attends school, and she takes the opportunity to deliver a letter to her best friend, where she tells her that she forgives her for the betrayal of having slept with her boyfriend.
Read this, okay?
After class, she sits on the grass to give advice to a troubled friend. At that time, her fellow students, Eric and Dylan, were watching her. Everything is ready for the attack on the school, but suddenly, their plan fails as the homemade object that they had prepared some time ago did not explode.
Past the time. Should've went off already.
And they are forced to quickly apply Plan B. Seconds later, Rachel and her friend are surprised by the armed criminals, and one of them verbally attacks her with profanity and mocks her for being a Christian.
Do you still believe in God?
Until they told them that not even God was going to save her, but she remains calm, since her faith remained unshakable despite the fact that it cost her her life.
Then go be with him.
At that moment they begin to detonate their weapons against them over and over again, with immense rage and full of hatred, as if they were the culprits of their miserable lives.
Came into the cafeteria and you could hear, like, bombs and shotguns.
Next, the fans enter the different areas of the school, spreading terror wherever they go.
People were getting shot all around me.
Both students and teachers do not understand what is happening. The sound of the bullets is impressive. Many of the students think that it is a game, but the reality is different. They wound and annihilate without mercy. After several hours of chaos and violence, Eric and Dylan take their own lives in the school library, leaving 12 people dead, including Rachel and a teacher, and 25 students injured.
I can only say tonight that the prayers of the American people are with you.
This was one of the worst school bombings in history, and it left an indelible mark on the local community and across the country. Rachel's loss shocked many and generated a wave of reflection on youth violence, and with her courage, she demonstrated the importance that Christian faith can have in tragedies like this.
Hey, Rach.
After the unfortunate event that occurred, her mother discovered that Rachel Scott had left several written and recorded testimonies in which she spoke of her faith and her love for God. In these testimonials, Rachel talked about how she had experienced God's grace and love in her life and how this had led her to want to share that love with others.
I don't understand why having a walk with God
In
is
an
so
audio
hard for me.
recording, she spoke about her desire to make a difference in the world and how her relationship with God had influenced that desire. She also spoke about the importance of being true with oneself and with others, and of living according to the values and principles that each person believes. In one of her writings, Rachel talked about the desire to make a chain of kindness, where each person did something kind for someone else, and that person in turn did something kind for someone else, and so on, and that desire became an inspiration to spread it around the world after she lost her life. Rachel also wrote about how she had been through difficult times and had struggled with her own faith in moments of weakness.
Like I'm beyond repair.
But she always came back with the certainty that God was there for her and that her love sustained her. In another testimony, Rachel spoke about how she had made the decision to give herself completely to Christ. She said that she had reached a point in her life where she realized that she could no longer live by her own rules and desires, and that she needed God in her life. It was at that moment that she gave her life to Christ and decided to follow him in everything she did. Rachel's testimonies have inspired many people around the world to live a more authentic life and share God's love and grace with others.
I mean, if we don't, it's going to attract them to God.
Remember, living for Jesus is not always easy, but it's always right. Hey, thanks.
This is the summary of a real-life Christian movie called I'm Not Ashamed. Click here and don't miss the following story.